talk about data training. And just a quick overview, we're going to talk about why you want to chart data, ways to collect it, and what do you do once you collect the data, and then what's the best graph to use, and then you're going to have some practice time. Why should you chart data? You should chart data because it's a great way to show for IEPs and when you're developing them how to show improvement of or regression of the student's skills or other information. To help you make decisions for the student's IEP, for instance, if you're doing duration, how long they're on task, if you're noticing after like winter break and after spring break that they're taking longer, it may be that they need the ESY, the extended school year. So the ways you can collect data, for behavior, you can collect it by daily charts. However you do that, you can get the information from the daily point sheets, weekly charts, duration, frequency, how many prompts do they need to do whatever, ABC data, and there's so many other ways you can collect data, whichever way works for you. Academically, you can do their test scores, observations that you do, work samples, attendance, how many days they're missing, is that affecting their academic, and much more. So once you get the data, you want to analyze it. You want to look and see ask yourself, what is the purpose of the data I've collected? Why did I spend the time collecting this data? And then you also want to try to figure out, what are you trying to highlight? What are you trying to show? And then you want to determine how you want it to look. If you want to use the graph the way I'm going to show you, or if you want to do it another way. And then you're going to want to graph and play with the data to make sure it encompasses what you want. In my opinion, if you're going to show changes over time period, you want to do a line graph. And this is an example of a frequency data where with the number of prompts students needed to refocus, you can see, how with the line graph it shows from September to February where there was decreases and there was increases. Here's also a duration one that you can see, percentage of on time, you've got your on time task, and then you've got your dates showing different things there. And then so now I'm going to show you what we use to do it. We use Excel, and basically how you do it in Excel is if you have data, let me use some data here, and you just, in column A right here, you're just going to put the date. So like this is, I'm just going to briefly show you, this is back from October of 2011, and then this is, I'm going to show you duration of on-time tasks, and the students was at 95%. So you put whatever data you're doing here. It could be prompts, it could be percentages, and then in column C.
So A is always going to be the x-axis.
A is always going to be your date. It's going to be your x-axis. It's always going to be on your bottom, and your B is always going to be your Y. Unless you physically tell it to switch, that's how it's going to do it. And then in the column C, if you're doing duration, okay, you can put the time so that you actually physically have, like for instance, this student was on task 9 minutes and 28 seconds in a 10-minute period, so that you know yourself, you can make a little note of the time, or you can put, just a little note to yourself, like if this was after winter break, you can put first week back from winter break, or first week back from spring break, or if the student, when we were doing data a couple weeks ago, we had a second grade student who was one of her teeth was loose, and she was, it was bleeding, and it was causing her focus to be drawn while we were doing the data, so we kind of just put that as a note to say, hey, this is what was else distracting her. So you can do that, and then once you get enough data in here, I'm just going to put two little things. You can then highlight, you're going to want to highlight columns A and B, and click where it says Insert Line Graph and you can choose any one you want. And what it's going to do is it's going to show you like this, and mine's a little skewed because I didn't put a lot, but you can just see it's a drip. If I were to put another one in here like
I have a question for you, because I know how to do this because that's the way I'm doing it. But how do you get it to where, because I had someone come and do a chart for me, and you see how you have all those dates in between, like say like, for me, I do mine every day. I don't want the weekends on there, but it still throws those dates on. How do you get that?
that's just a matter of playing down here, and you can even like stretch the graph more. See if I stretch the graph more.
And we found, like, when we were doing the one the other day, when we decided that we wanted to do this training, we were trying to plot all these other things onto the graph after we got it, you know, like attendance and breaks and when he was tardy. And we found that having it at an angle didn't work. And so
So you guys can now figure out how to look at your data, figure out, analyze it, you know, figure out what you want. You can chart it, and then most important thing is it can be stressful, but you just want to relax and be able to have fun. And if you feel getting stressed, just kind of walk away for a few minutes and clear your mind, you know. And then if you need help, just raise your hand.
yeah, and I'm going to kind of come